What if everything you've been chasing, approval, attention, validation, wasn't theirs to give? What if the reason you feel drained, unseen, or stuck isn't because of them, but because you've been handing over your power all along? Every time you explain yourself to someone who doesn't value you, every time you beg silently for recognition, you shrink a little more without even noticing. And the shocking truth is this: the moment you stop performing for people who don't care, that's the moment your life begins to change. Most of us have been taught that showing our emotions is a strength. But what happens when those emotions are poured into the wrong hands? When you invest your heart, your energy, your time into someone who has already checked out, it stops being love. It becomes self-abandonment. You tell yourself you're trying to connect, to fix things, to be honest. But in reality, you're performing for someone who no longer values your presence. Every heartfelt message, every attempt to explain yourself, every late-night overthinking session is a small surrender of your own power. And here's what nobody tells you. This isn't about them. It's about you letting someone else define your worth. When you misplace your emotional energy, you teach yourself that your feelings only matter when validated externally. And that lesson quietly corrodes your confidence, your self-respect, and your ability to see your own value. But understanding this misplacement is the first step toward reclaiming control over your life. The painful truth is that no matter how clearly you express your feelings, no speech, no paragraph, no perfectly crafted message can make someone care once they've already checked out. The more you try to fix, explain, or justify, the more invisible you become. Your energy, once powerful, gets drained trying to revive something that's already dead. And here's the lesson most people never learn. Your emotional energy is sacred, and where you place it determines the life you lead. Pour it into people who respect it, and it multiplies. Pour it into those who disregard it, and it diminishes you. This isn't about holding grudges. It's about prioritizing yourself. When you understand that your value doesn't live in someone else's acknowledgement, you begin the internal shift that sets everything in motion. You stop reacting, stop pleading, and start redirecting your energy to the people, goals, and opportunities that actually deserve it. That is where freedom begins. The freedom to feel fully, act decisively, and reclaim the power that has always been yours. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop giving your energy to those who won't honor it. The moment you realize someone has stopped treating you like you matter, the most powerful move isn't confrontation, isn't explanations, isn't begging for understanding. It's stepping back quietly and fully. Not loud exits, not dramatic posts, not ultimatums, but complete internal control. Because nothing erodes self-respect faster than clinging to someone who has emotionally moved on while leaving the door just slightly open for you. That cracked open access trains them to expect your attention without earning it. And it trains you to tolerate being treated as an option rather than a priority. True detachment is a reclaiming of yourself, your time, your energy, your clarity. It's choosing to invest your presence in people and pursuits that align with your worth, rather than chasing validation from those who have already opted out. And here's the remarkable part. When you detach with calm confidence, when you resist the urge to justify your value, something shifts internally. You stop reacting to their actions, and you begin building momentum toward your own growth, strength, and freedom. When someone loses interest or pulls away, it can feel like the ground beneath you collapses. But the real collapse often comes from within. For too long, you've outsourced your identity to a relationship, pouring energy into keeping someone else happy while neglecting yourself. The man you were before this struggle, the version who had ambition, focus, and drive, starts to fade. Reclaiming your identity begins with brutal honesty and consistent action. Rebuilding the habits, routines, and disciplines that were abandoned while chasing someone else's attention. Start small. Move your body with intensity. Fuel it with food that strengthens you, and wake up with purpose. Train your mind as rigorously as your body. Cut distractions, learn relentlessly, and resist the urge to numb the discomfort of growth. Every deliberate action reminds you that your worth isn't determined by someone else's validation. It's claimed hour by hour through showing up for yourself, even when no one is watching. The man who once bent to keep someone interested slowly transforms into someone who commands his own respect, fuels his own vision, and becomes untouchable not through force, but through self-alignment. Raising your standards isn't arrogance, it's survival. Every time you tolerate behavior that falls below your worth, you send a silent message. This is acceptable. And over time, you start confusing survival with satisfaction, accepting crumbs while calling them a meal. Emotional gray zones, one-sided efforts, late replies, minimal engagement, they all chip away at your self-respect. And you rationalize it because it feels easier than facing the truth. The truth is brutal. People treat you not based on what you deserve, but on what you allow. Raising your standards starts with setting real boundaries, the kind that aren't just posted online for show, but that actively reshape your life. If someone pulls back, you don't chase. You match their energy with calm clarity. If they forget your value, you let them go, not to manipulate, but because your self-worth refuses to tolerate less. As soon as you hold yourself to higher standards, your life begins to shift. People notice, energy changes, and you stop being reactive. You stop shrinking to fit the expectations of others and start expanding into the space your true potential demands. The ultimate way to reclaim your power is to become unrecognizable, not through superficial changes, but through complete internal transformation. This isn't about a new haircut, a new wardrobe, or trying to impress someone who never valued you. It's about evolving into a version of yourself so focused, disciplined, and purpose-driven that the person you used to be no longer exists. The man who begged, who overthought every reply, who adjusted his life to please others, he's gone. In his place stands someone whose energy is aligned with growth, whose presence radiates calm confidence, and whose actions reflect unwavering self-respect. This transformation is silent. It doesn't need applause or recognition. It happens in the moments you resist old habits, in the hours you invest in your goals, in the discipline that keeps you committed to yourself even when no one else is watching. And when that transformation is complete, the world notices, not because you seek attention, but because your absence, your presence, and your standards speak louder than words ever could. Emotional discipline is the bridge between pain and power. It's the moment you stop reacting to every text, every slight, every fleeting sign of attention, and start responding from a place of control. The urge to chase, to explain, to prove your worth. That's addiction disguised as love. Breaking that cycle isn't easy. It requires training yourself to feel without performing, to sit with discomfort without running, to let your growth take priority over temporary validation. Every time you resist the impulse to seek approval, every time you pause instead of reacting, you reclaim a piece of yourself that was lost in chasing someone else's energy. Emotional discipline doesn't make you cold. It makes you untouchable in the sense that your direction, your purpose, and your self-respect are no longer negotiable. And when you master this discipline, freedom isn't a distant idea. It becomes the reality you live in every day. True power comes not from being liked or approved of, but from being aligned with your own values, your vision, and your purpose. When you stop chasing validation, you begin to live in a way that reflects who you truly are, not who others want you to be. Your time, your energy, your presence, they become selective, reserved for what actually matters. People may notice the change, some may resist it, some may even try to pull you back into old patterns, but your focus no longer wavers. Alignment over approval means saying no when it feels uncomfortable, prioritizing growth over comfort, and letting your actions, not explanations, define your worth. In this space, distraction loses its grip, inconsistency no longer tempts you, and every decision becomes a declaration of self-respect. You no longer wait for others to recognize your value. You embody it, and in that embodiment, you become unstoppable. This is the moment where everything clicks, the moment you realize that the power to change your life was never in their hands. Every heartbreak, every slight, every rejection was simply a mirror reflecting how far you had strayed from your own standards. And now, standing in clarity, you see it all. The man who once begged for scraps of attention is gone. In his place is someone unshakable, disciplined, and fiercely aligned with his values. Nothing and no one can derail you, because you've built your foundation on respect for yourself, not permission from others. Your presence commands attention without demand. Your absence teaches lessons without words, and your energy pulls toward growth instead of distraction. This is freedom, the kind that doesn't need revenge, doesn't need closure, doesn't rely on anyone else's recognition. You are whole, you are sovereign, and every step forward is a declaration that your life, your worth, and your vision are yours alone to protect and elevate. The past cannot touch you anymore because you have reclaimed everything you once surrendered. And in that reclamation, you are unstoppable. Your transformation doesn't depend on anyone else. It depends on the choices you make today. The moment you stop explaining your worth, stop chasing validation, and start investing in yourself, you reclaim the life you were always meant to lead. Walk away from what diminishes you. Build habits that elevate you. Raise standards that protect your energy. Become someone so disciplined, so aligned, so focused on growth, that your presence alone speaks volumes. And the best part? You don't need anyone's permission to do it. Every setback, every heartbreak, every moment of doubt is fuel for the person you are becoming. So start now. Take the small, consistent steps that honor your vision. Let your life be a reflection of your standards, your discipline, and your self-respect. Because when you do, you don't just survive, you thrive. You don't just recover, you rise. Comment, I reclaim my power, if you're ready to stop shrinking for others and start building the life you deserve. Your transformation begins today.